39.079. Yes.
Alright, let's take a look at that. So this is going to be first lap, hot lap. If you watch the C-Fix video, you'll see that I stressed that you need to full throttle all the way off a pit road. You don't need to do that for B-Fixed. You can build up at the speed that you need to, but don't be slow off a pit road. Obviously, you want to build up your speed, but it doesn't need to be this perfect full throttle off pit road type deal. So I found a couple things. You'll see that I'm choosing the lane right by the wall for my outlap here, and it's kind of marginal, right? So if you drive your car inches from the wall, you're going to have about 1/100th of an advantage over just driving the this lane right here. So it's like, it's probably not worth it to be up here and risk it, but hey, if you got the time to do it, might as well. So riding right by the wall, just trying to keep it not too close to where you get wall arrowed. So like kind of the seam in the middle of your car. That's what's going to get the optimal run, but you can run just that same idea, but that top seam there, and it'll be pretty much the same. So don't worry about it too much. If being right by the wall scares you enough, it's not that big of a deal. So we're going to come all the way down to the start finish line here, and then I'm going to kind of choke it a little bit before coming back up. Again, that's worth like 1/100th. It's not that big of a deal. And then going into the corner here, so I played around with the same line I did in C-Fix, where I actually did go to the bottom. So the first lane in Michigan is a flatter banking compared to the next two lanes, compared to the two lanes above that. So I was like, maybe it's like C-Fix where you can kind of use that and kind of cut through it. But I did eventually end up finding that driving that first seam and treating the first seam like it's the bottom, that's just the fastest way around in C-Fixed. So I'm actually going for a late apex here. If you go for an early apex and then kind of just wait partial throttle on this seam, it's fine. It's just going to be a little tiny bit slower. This line here where you run to the, so you see I'm actually the whole way like 75% throttle. So you just 75% throttle down to the seam. Try to keep your car as straight as possible. Don't get it loose. And then once you get to that seam, you up your throttle smoothly. And once you start upping that throttle, your car's going to start snapping loose slightly, and you got to use that looseness to finish the corner. If you get that car if you snap that car back too early, you're not going to finish the corner. It's going to hit the wall. So you're using that 75% to 100% throttle transition to kick out the right rear and finish the corner for you. It's not that easy. So the alternative is just getting down to the seam earlier and waiting at partial throttle for longer. But this is the absolute fastest way, in my opinion, is making a late apex and then using throttle up to 100% in order to finish the corner with that rotation. And it could have been done probably a little bit better than I did. I was a little bit sloppy, but it wasn't that bad. So we're going to go to 3 and 4 here, and again, I thought that maybe the bottom lane was it, but after experimenting a couple times, no, I just think, again, late apex on the seam, throttle up to 100. Once you start nearing the end of the corner, once you're on the seam, and then that'll finish the corner for you. Turn 4 is easier to make because it is a wider exit, so you don't have to really worry about the angle of your car as much. You just need to worry about having the rotation in the first place. And the speed that you get off that corner running that second lane as opposed to the very bottom is going to be at a slight advantage. So we'll take a look at that one more time. So aiming for the seam, but late apexing it, holding partial throttle until you get to the seam, and then once you're at the seam, you bring it up to full throttle, let the car start to get loose a little bit, and then just keep the car rotating under that full throttle. That's very important. The moment that you weight shift that car back to the neutral snug feeling, you're going to lose your angle and hit the wall. So that's something to practice for you guys. All right, now let's go take a look at the long run. All right, let's take a look at the long run here. So I was messing around a little bit, seeing if I can get the top to work, or if it's just going to be this first seam line for the whole race. And I really do think it's just going to be this first seam line for almost the whole race. There might be something in the top at the very end, or at least later in the run. But when a car handles tight up top, like this Xfinity car does, it really is just a tire eater if you're trying to gain any speed. Whereas you can kind of manage your tires down and kind of forcing your car loose a little bit. Because I really do think that the right front tire is going to be the tire that the car leans on the most. Because corner entry, it's fairly snug. So you don't get loose until later in the corner when you kind of have a tight to loose snap under throttle. And that usually tells me that it's really just on the right front for the V getting at the corner. And then the later and later you get into the run, the more and more the car won't even want to make that snap. You can also induce the car to get a little extra loose by going to the below the seam like this and kind of getting on the throttle. You see that? That's how you can induce loose, but it's like not super consistent. So I think that what you're going to want to do for the race is honestly just little early let-offs, get to that seam and kind of just hold it there, partial throttle, let the car go wherever it wants to after that, and then full throttle when you're able to. I think that fighting the car, keeping it on a specific line is just going to hurt your tires. I think that trying to make the top, or at least close to the top, work. I'll try right now just to show you. I even put in a little brake tap to try to get it on the right rear. Able to kind of get it rotate like that, so that felt okay. Compare that to my last lap. So it's actually pretty even, but I just feel like it's using more tire than it needs to be up there. And kind of straightening out these exits like this is going to keep your right front cool as well. I do think the top is viable in a way. I just don't recommend rushing to it. If you could be the last person to run up top, and you see, even if you get a bad angle like this, then you have to turn the wheel even more to get it to work up here. It's not bad. It's definitely multi-groove in the sense that you can defend positions like that, so you can definitely practice this line to defend positions. 3 and 4 kind of the same. I'm going to get off a little early, then try to get the car to rotate under throttle, get it to kind of snap loose on purpose. And the run that we get off will kind of bring us back to where we were to start out with. A little bit slower, kind of negligible. If you're side by side, you'll probably hold on to your position running that line, but then you just use a lot less of your car coming down to the bottom here. Driving right up the hill. And the top was a little faster. So it's like, it's all marginal, it's all about what you're the most comfortable with, but I think that the best guys, in my opinion, are going to be at least staying on the bottom for as long as they can before they start forcing each other, in order to save the right front tire, and then towards the end of the race they'll move up to that line that I was doing there and kind of spend the right front tire there. But if you don't know, if you don't really want to get caught in the games like that, I think just picking a line and sticking to it can work out for you. So I think this is gonna wear the right front tire more, so let's go check that real quick. Okay, 95, 94, so I was wrong. We're actually pretty even, a tiny bit on the right rear. I do think as the car gets more and more laps in, though, it's gonna have to want to lean on that right front. So definitely experiment with the lines. I do think that that bottom line will be the line you want to stay for as long as possible, and then towards the end of a run, move up to defend your position and spend what you have left on your right front tire. Alright, thank you all for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.